The first time my stepmother tried to claim my father's birthday as our night, I was standing in the produce aisle calculating the cost of 70 limes. Her voice buzzed in my ear like an insect that had found the one place I couldn't swat. Mira, I've thought about it and feel it's best if you don't sit with us at the head table. It took me a second to answer because I was staring at the crate label, key limes 59 cents per EA imported, and trying to figure out if there was a place in the world where limes grew without pettiness. I beg your pardon? I said, keeping my voice neutral. My dad always says I inherited his calm, but calm feels different when someone is trying to shuffle you behind a pillar and call it a compromise. You understand, Vanessa continued, sweet as saccharin. There's only so much space, and it should be a couple's table. It's what looks right. It's not personal. Personal, I thought, hauling a bag of limes into my cart. I'd taken on a few extra freelance design gigs to afford this party. The balloon garlands, the jazz trio, the anchor pattern napkins I had custom printed because Dad had been a Navy electrician once upon a time. All week I'd been standing at my kitchen table tying strings to memory cards so his old friends could write down stories and clip them onto a line. I was paying for every inch of that head table, tablecloth to tip, because I wanted to make my father's 60th feel special. I'm organizing the event, I said. And paying for it. I should be at the head table. Darling, she said. She calls everybody darling, but the syllables can bend into anything. Velvet wire. Weddings have head tables. This is a soiree. It's about vibe. You'll be with the younger people. It'll be more fun. Younger people. I'm 23. Vanessa is 45 and dresses like a magazine spread of Marina District wives. Linen trousers, gold hoops, perfume that whispers expense. Sometimes I think she wants to stand beside my father in every photograph as if, by proximity, she were part of the origin story. Right, I said. The overflow table by the kitchen. Don't be dramatic, she said lightly. Oh, and we had to rearrange the slideshow. Your childhood bit. It's adorable, but we cut it down to 5 minutes so we can have a segment for my friends. They've known me ages and they'll get a kick out of it. Okay, I said. My eye twitched. Vanessa, send me your final seating chart. Already did, she said. Just now. See you Saturday, darling. Wear the lavender dress, it's softer. We don't want to draw attention away from the guest of honor. She hung up. I stood with my phone slack in my hand, and the citrus scent making everything feel brighter and meaner. My dad texted me an hour later. Can't wait for Saturday. Vanilla ice cream with the spice cake? He never asks for much. He loves plain things. He had married my mother at 22 and buried her at 39 and spent the next 15 years learning to cook one good stew and fix the hinge on everything under our roof. He wasn't romantic about life. He was stubborn and gentle, which is its own kind of romance. When he met Vanessa 3 years ago, I tried to be glad he had someone who bought cut flowers instead of wild ones, someone who filled the house with citrus candles and said, "We'll host." I texted back, "Already ordered. 2 tubs." He replied with a sticker of a penguin throwing confetti. It hurt, that penguin. I thought of him as a boy in boot camp, as a man in a mechanic's garage with grease under his nails, as a father kneeling to show me how to fix a bike chain. It snapped something in me, the nerve that endures 1,000 tiny slights in the name of civility. I pushed my cart out into the noon. The sky was crisp and high, a cotton shirt taut on a line. In the parking lot, I scrolled through my email and opened the seating chart Vanessa had sent. There it was, head table, Dad, Vanessa, Pastor Tom and wife, the Hendersons, the Urbinas, and bless her, a small note that read, "No extra chairs here, tables are full." My name appeared at table 6 with young adults. A polite way to describe cousins and plus ones and the friend from work I'd invited because Dad had tutored him for his GED last fall. Attached to the email was a request to the restaurant. Reserve an additional private table of 12 for Vanessa's friends. The restaurant had confirmed. I was CC'd. When I clicked through, I saw they'd been given the spot with the best harbor view. I sat in my car and let the air conditioning blow cold. For a second, I saw myself swallowing it the way I swallow a pebble when waves hit my ankles. Unpleasant, but not deadly. The problem was if I swallowed this, I knew I'd swallow the next thing and the next, until I was a gull packed tight with grits. I called Tasha. "She's out of her mind," my cousin said immediately. "You paid, you plan, you place. That's the rule." "There's no rule," I said, but I was smiling. "Then we write one," she said. "Or we unionize the relatives. Tasha is 30, a nurse, and the family person you want near you when you are bleeding." She once phoned my boss to say I had a stomach bug, and then stayed on hold to book me a dental appointment I'd been avoiding. She does not like Vanessa, but she tries to be polite for my father's sake. You know what I'd do, she said now. I'd cancel her little private Versailles and put those people at table 6 with you, so they can rotate past the kitchen heat lamp. I can't be petty, I said. It's Dad's day. Okay, she said. And hear me out, you can be just petty enough to balance the universe. I laughed harder than I meant to. I'm scared he'd be disappointed, I said. He likes when everybody gets along. He also likes not being played, she said. And he adores you. That woman doesn't get to script your place in his life. After we hung up, the laughter dissolved. I sat and watched the curve of the bay, because the water has a way of making pain look like it might as well be a pattern in the tide. A small boat cut a neat line through the surface, gulls trailing it like commas. I took a breath and dialed the restaurant. Hi, Priya, I said when the events manager answered. We'd been emailing for weeks. She knew I was fussed about the cake forks and the playlist order. It's Mira. Could we talk about the seating? Of course, she said. Are you okay? I pressed my tongue to the roof of my mouth because if I spoke immediately, the tears might roam into my voice. I'd like to cancel the private table for Vanessa's friends, I said, and add a seat to the head table. I'll send the final configuration within the hour. There was a tiny pause. Understood, Priya said gently. You're the client. I'll make it happen. When I hung up, I sat there and waited for guilt to flood me. It didn't. Something else settled instead, an evenness. It felt like measuring twice and cutting once. The money was mine, the intention was mine, and the man we were honoring was mine long before he was anyone else's. I didn't owe a single inch of my chair to a person who had spent weeks removing me from pictures. I opened my laptop at home and reworked the chart. It wasn't vindictive. I wasn't sending anyone to sit behind the ice sculpture. I made sure everyone could see the stage. I checked the dietary notes and the no seafood and gluten-free markers. I put Vanessa's Pilates ladies at tables 2 and 3. I added my seat to the head table on my father's right because he is right-handed and always turns to that side first. Then I opened the slideshow file she had edited and put the childhood section back to 10 minutes. I left in the friends Vanessa wanted. I placed those clips after the toast. I rearranged the music so that my father's favorite Coltrane played when he walked in, because I wanted the room to sound like something inside him. At 2 a.m., with my eyes smudgy and my back complaining, I recorded the voiceover for the opening slide, a simple thing. We love you. I pictured his face when he looked up and saw the first photo, him on the hood of a car in 1987, grinning, hair thick, future unwritten. I crawled into bed and slept like I'd made an honest cut. Vanessa called the next morning. Darling, she said without preamble. Priya just told me the private table is cancelled. That's not the vibe. I was pouring coffee. My heartbeat stayed slow, which felt like a miracle. I cancelled it, I said. The party should be one room. You didn't consult me, she said, wounded. You didn't consult me when you cut the slideshow, I said mildly. This way we're even. This isn't a vendetta, she snapped. I'm curating. I thought of the word curating and how it sounded like arranging artifacts in vitrines where you could look, but not touch. I'm hosting, I said. And paying. That's gauche to say. I don't care, I said, and surprised myself by how much I didn't. There was a silence that felt like a hallway in a museum without visitors. Finally she said, You are ruining the aesthetic. The aesthetic of my father turning 60? I asked. The aesthetic is him. People are going to notice the drama, she said. Then let them notice it before the appetizers, I said. Because after the birthday is over, what I want them to notice is Dad laughing. She hung up on me this time. I stared at my reflection in the black of the coffee and blinked. The mug was heavy. My neck felt light. I texted Dad. Anything special you want to say during the toast? He sent a shrug emoji. You'll think of something, was his whole way of living. I wanted the night to be simple, but there are 100,000 ways to complicate a room. On Saturday, I got to the harbor restaurant at 4, before the sun dipped toward the bridge and turned everything bronze. Priya met me in the foyer with a clipboard and a certain heroic calm that event managers cultivate like a garden. I wish I could bottle that calm and drink it on days that want to derail. The centerpieces look perfect, she said. And the cake is gorgeous. The baker had piped tiny waves around the base with the precision of a mapmaker. The spice rose off it like a story: cinnamon, clove, allspice. I remembered Dad cutting me slices as a kid and pretended that memory was a cloak. I checked the place cards. I adjusted a frame. I pressed a wrinkle out of a linen like I could smooth time. Tasha arrived an hour later with a bag of emergency items. Safety pins, mints, extra lipstick, the kind of bra tape that could keep an entire attitude secured. She wore a green jumpsuit and righteous indignation. "You look like money," I told her. "I look like an advocate," she said, and hugged me so hard my ribs briefly aligned with all my better choices. Guests began to arrive in clusters. Old Navy buddies who hugged so tight you could hear laughter in their bones. Neighbors who'd known me since I wore light-up sneakers. Aunt Gloria carrying a Tupperware, just in case, because she distrusts restaurants to feed people enough. The room filled with the good noise of people finding each other. It smelled like roasted salmon and lemon, and the cologne my father uses, so little the bottle lasts years. Dad walked into Coltrane like I'd planned. He stopped on the threshold and looked around the room as if he had been sailing lost, and we had lit a pier. Priya cued the confetti cannons, soft ones that spit handfuls of tissue gold. Dad's eyes went bright. He hugged me first. He always has. He can carry a room, but he never forgets to touch his base. "Kiddo," he said into my hair. "My God. Happy birthday," I said, and held his shoulders to look at him. The tie he wore was a little crooked, and I reached up to fix it without thinking. His smile was small and real. For a second, everything else faded to the edges like a vignette. Then Vanessa arrived. She came through the side doors with her friends clustering around her in shiny fabrics. Her bracelet chimed when she lifted her hand as if she were saluting a camera. She scanned the room, and I could see the exact second she registered the absence of a private island for her entourage. I braced. She moved toward me at a controlled speed. Her expression was frost under gloss. "There's a mistake," she said. "Where's our table?" "Right here," I said, and gestured to tables 2 and 3, which looked indistinguishable from the others except that they were not alone at the bow. "That's not what I arranged," she said. "It's what I arranged," I said. "We're consolidating. It's a party, not a theater." She looked past me for Priya, like maybe the manager would pull a lever and reveal a hidden room. Priya materialized with a serene, professional smile. "Everything is set as per the client's final request," she said. "Am I not your client?" Vanessa demanded. Priya's smile didn't waver. "Mira contracted the event and provided payment in full," she said. "I follow her directives." It was not unkind. It was a simple statement of lines. Vanessa's jaw tensed. For a breath, I saw the child inside her, the one who thought she could arrange a room to love her if she arranged it correctly. But then she did a thing I'd never seen. She turned to my father and said, loud enough that people paused, "Frank, your daughter has been terribly uncooperative." A circle formed around that word as if she'd dropped it into a puddle. Dad looked from her to me. He has a way of taking his time with his gaze, weighing what is in front of him. "Mira organized this entire thing," he said finally, voice low. You could hear the hush that enters a shop when the boss arrives. "I'm grateful." The bracelet chimed again as Vanessa flicked her wrist. "Gratitude is not the same as gracefully sharing authority," she said. "I thought we agreed to a certain elegance." She canceled my table. "Because there's only one birthday," I said before I could stop myself, and felt Tasha's supportive hand on the small of my back like a plank. My father looked at me for 2 beats longer. Just long enough that I knew he was asking silently, "Is there more?" I stood still. I hadn't wanted to draw him into a fight, but here we were. The honest thing seemed like the cleanest cut. "Vanessa tried to seat me by the kitchen," I said plainly. "She cut down the slideshow. She asked that I not sit with you." A sound went through the room. Small, wind slipping through reeds. My father's face changed. It didn't harden. It didn't flush. It did the opposite. It softened, the way a person looks when they realize a door they thought was locked had been open the whole time. Only someone had moved the furniture in front of it. "That true?" he asked Vanessa. She opened and closed her mouth. "It's a vibe," she said. "She's being dramatic." He shook his head slowly like a man who feels a load slide off the wrong shelf. "No," he said. To her credit, he didn't raise his voice. "This is my daughter. She sits with me. We are not negotiating that." I saw Vanessa's eyes dart around for allies. Most people studied the table settings. It is hard to stand near a thing that has just been named. The jazz trio started up a tune as if cued by the script of Our Better Angels. The servers began sliding plates onto tables with the choreography that only comes of practice. The party found its path around the conflict like a stream around a rock. There is a way gatherings can recalibrate themselves when someone refuses to pretend that stumble is part of the dance. Vanessa sat where I didn't track. I was busy directing the slideshow and checking in with Priya and making sure Dad's best friend Alan had enough water because he sweated when he laughed too hard. Tasha whispered, "That was surgical," in my ear, and I breathed for the first time that day. When everyone was settled, I stood up to give my toast. My legs shook for exactly 3 seconds, and then remembered how to be legs. I picked up the microphone and the room gentled itself. "I could tell you 100 stories about my father," I said, looking at him rather than the crowd. "How he taught me to change a tire. How he brings a pocket knife to every picnic for the watermelon. How he pretends not to cry at commercials and fails. People laughed because he does. But here's the one I want to tell." I nodded to Priya, who dimmed the room so the screen glowed. The first slide was the one of him on the car, hair thick, future unwritten. This is a man who never made me beg to belong. When I was 8 and my class had a father-daughter dance, he stood on my bare feet in the kitchen and rocked us left and right until I felt like the house was a ship we could steer. When I was 12 and wanted to join the robotics club where I was the only girl, he soldered circuits with me until 1 a.m. and still woke up early to make pancakes. When I was 17 and decided not to go out with Dean from physics because my gut said no, he didn't ask for proof. He said, "If your gut whispers, I'll listen to your silence." I saw his lip tremble. I knew later he'd pretend it was a sneeze. "We love you," I said into the hush. "If you never wore another tie or fixed another hinge, we'd love you. If you never swept snow off a neighbor's steps, we'd love you. If you let a door slam in someone's face, I would scold you and then love you right afterward. Because you taught me the lesson I wish everyone got taught. We are not furniture in each other's rooms. We're people. We don't get arranged." I lifted my glass. "To my father, who turns 60 today and teaches me daily that your place is what you give each other, not what you take." The clink of glasses felt like affirmation. Dad stood up, hugged me so hard my earrings caught his collar and whispered, "You're my best thing." The jazz trio slid into something that felt like walking in forgiving shoes. The servers rolled out the cake, and Dad pretended to struggle with the candles like he was wrestling a many-headed beast. He made a show of blowing them in halves, then quarters, then eighths, and the laugher loosened what was clenched. Dinner became story hour. Alan told the tale of the time they got snowed in D.C., and my dad shoveled a stranger's driveway because it looked like it was bullying the mailbox. Aunt Gloria recounted Dad's first Thanksgiving turkey, raw in the middle, saved by an emergency spatchcock. The slideshow of friends that Vanessa wanted played after, and they were funny. Her Pilates ladies had known her since she'd been a dental hygienist, and they told stories about whitening mishaps that had everyone gasping. It was good. It was good despite, or maybe because we had not made a lie of the afternoon. At one point, I caught Vanessa watching me. Not with love. I wouldn't flatter myself. Something more like calculation and a pinch of bewilderment. A person used to arranging is rarely prepared for a person who opts out of being arranged. Later, when the room had shifted into that mellow finale where dessert forks clink and people loosen ties, she approached me in the hall near the restrooms where the light was less flattering and therefore more honest. Her makeup had surrendered at the edges. She looked tired in a way that had nothing to do with age. "You humiliated me," she said. It wasn't theatrical. It was a fact she held like a plastic badge she had to wear. "I didn't mean to," I said, and I didn't. "I meant to not be humiliated myself." Her mouth turned. "You could have told me the table was cancelled without making a scene." "I did tell you," I said. "You just didn't accept it. And then you came in loud." She looked down at her wrist and smoothed the bracelet as if it might cue her. "He's yours," she said finally with a small ugly laugh. "He'll always be yours." I didn't say yes because that would be triumph. I didn't say no because that would be a lie. "He's his own," I said. "I'm his daughter. You're his wife. It isn't a zero-sum game." "You made it feel like one," she said. "You tried to," I said, then gentled my voice. "Vanessa, you keep acting like love is a scheme that works only if you curate the guest list. But the thing about love is it's a potluck. It gets bigger the more people bring." She stared at me for a long second. For the first time, I wondered if maybe no one had ever told her that, or if no one had ever stayed after saying it. I leaned on the wall. She leaned on the opposite one. It felt like a draw. I don't know how to do that, she confessed, so soft I almost missed it. Nothing ever showed me how. I don't either, all the way, I said. But when I learn, it's because he keeps the door open. She huffed. He does that, she said, and glanced toward the dining room where the jazz musicians were packing their instruments, and my father was demonstrating his terrible two-step to a group of amused neighbors. He makes it hard to stay mad. We didn't make up. I didn't hug her. I wasn't a saint, but something released between us. Not a rope snapping, more like a knot admitting it wanted to loosen someday. Back in the dining room, the tables had that end-of-night look. Crumbs like punctuation, candles leaning toward their own wax, napkins slumped with the satisfaction of having caught what they were supposed to catch. People were saying their goodbyes. Aunt Gloria pressed leftovers into my hand, as if she feared the restaurant would repossess them. Dad stood by the door, shaking hands, small-talking, the exact right amount of attention for each person. When we finally found ourselves in the quieter space of the emptying room, he rubbed his palms on his pants, a tell that meant he was nervous. "Kiddo," he said. "That was the best night." He paused. "You okay?" I nodded. I had only cried a little in the restroom, and Tasha had blotted it like a pro and declared me combat ready. "I'm good," I said. "Are you?" He looked as if he were trying to arrange words on a table as carefully as the place cards. "I didn't know she'd do that," he said slowly. "He rarely says mean things. He prefers assessments." I didn't like it. There was a moment when I could have told him to leave her. That's not how families work, though, not ours anyway. People want answers that rearrange everything when what they require is the slow relearning of a map with shared spaces. "You don't have to apologize for her," I said. "You also don't have to pick a fight tonight. Let's just let tonight be this, good." He exhaled. "I love you," he said. He says it carefully, as if he were laying a plank across something and testing his weight before letting me walk on it. "I love you," I said back, and poked him in the chest where his tie formed a neat V. "You have to take the centerpiece." It was in the budget. "Bossy," he said, with the smile he uses when he is proud. We carried 2 of the centerpieces out to the car. The night air smelled like salt and the last of summer heat rising from the boards of the marina. Vanessa stood by the curb with her ladies, who were clucking in a way that might have been sympathy or might have been the stitching of a new story. She saw us pass and she nodded once. For now, that felt like plenty. At home, we unloaded the gifts. A drill set, a framed print of the bridge, a sweater with elbows patched in leather like a professor in an old film. He opened my gift last because it was heavy and I needed both of us to lift it onto the coffee table. A wood box with a brass latch. Inside were the memory cards we'd clipped on that line, bound by a long ribbon, each one telling a small story. The second layer was a book I'd had printed, black and white photos of him from every year, not in order, because lives aren't. He ran his fingers along the card edges. He read one from Alan about the time they changed a tire in the rain and nearly got hit by a grocery cart. Frank grabbed it like it owed him money. Another from his old boss about the day he decided to give the kid with a prison record a chance because every chain has a quiet link. When he reached a card written in my thin, neat hand, he swallowed. "Read it," he said, and passed it to me. He prefers me to lend my voice when his gets thick. "Okay," I said. "Dear Dad, once when I was 9, you came to my room after a thunderstorm and told me we couldn't fix the power lines, but we could find where the breakers had tripped. You walked with me to the garage holding our flashlights like swords. You showed me the box and said, 'Sometimes it's not broken. It's just overloaded.' I think of that when I try to carry too much. You taught me to flip the switch and try again. So I keep trying. I keep turning the lights back on." He put his hand over mine. "You always did," he said, and our 2 hands made a small shelter. The weeks after the party wobbled along in new ways. Vanessa was cool for a time, and then she sent me a link to a restaurant with a private room, as if to say, "Next time I will make a preemptive strike." I sent her a photo of a potluck invitation I was designing for my friend's backyard wedding, and she responded with a thumbs up, which in our shorthand meant, "Détente holds." She came to Sunday dinners with only 2 opinions instead of 12. She didn't call me darling for 3 weeks, and when she started again, the syllables were less barbed. Dad, who is best at the slow mending, invited us both to repaint the shed, and we did, though my brush strokes had more vigor than precision and Vanessa's had more precision than vigor. "We make a hole," he said when we stepped back. It was true in the smallest way and maybe, someday, in the bigger one. I learned something I didn't expect in all of it. You think it's going to be about the big scene, the canceled table, the speech, the line in the sand. But it's also about the unglamorous repetition afterward. No, thank you, I'll sit here. No, thank you, I like this slide this length. No, thank you, I don't need to be curated. Every time you say it and the ceiling doesn't fall, a piece of it crumbles anyway, making the room taller. One night in October, Dad texted me at 9, got leftovers. Want some stew? Vanessa makes it different than me, but I promise no raisins. I walked over because I always walk to him when the world lets me. The house smelled like tomatoes and bay leaves. He handed me a bowl, and I leaned against the counter while he fished for spoons. We're okay, he said, not looking at me. He always talks sideways when he's vulnerable, like you're driving with him, and he's telling you where the deer hide at dusk. I know, I said. We will be. He considered me over the spoon. You did a brave thing, he said. It's hard to keep your voice when someone keeps rearranging the room. You gave me that voice, I said. No, he said gently. You were born with it. I just handed it back when you forgot where it was. Vanessa walked in then with a towel over her shoulder, and a strand of hair stuck to her cheek. She stopped, looked at us, and then reached for the bowl stack. I tried a new thing, she said almost sheepishly. Smoked paprika. It might be too much. I took a spoonful. It tasted like paprika, yes, but also like the slow curiosity of a person admitting that recipes could change. It's good, I said and meant it. She smiled, small but real. Thanks, she said. And that dress at the party. You look nice. Thank you, I said. We ate, standing. It was not elegant, which is to say it was perfect. Months later, I found the centerpiece from the party dried in a mason jar on my windowsill. Eucalyptus gone silver, sea holly stubborn as a blue fist. When the evening sun hit it, it threw spiky little shadows that looked like fireworks done by a minimalist. I thought of the way love had to be both soft and both edged if it was going to hold inside it the truth of who we are. And because maybe you need to hear a thing said plain, here it is. I canceled her table because she tried to cancel me. It didn't fix everything, but it fixed that. It fixed the part where you teach people how not to arrange you. It made room at a table where my father left the best piece of cake for the last person to arrive, and meant it. A table that was very simply his. He turned 60 and we turned the lights back on. That night is a story that keeps telling itself in our family now, like the way certain songs keep getting better every time you hear them, because you lived through the notes. Whenever we gather, someone makes a joke about the private table, and then brings in a folding chair for whoever shows up late. At Thanksgiving, when Alan arrived sheepish with a new girlfriend no one had met, Aunt Gloria bellowed, "We're not curating," and whisked out an extra plate like a magician. Vanessa groaned, but she smiled when she did it. On the first anniversary of Dad's 60th, I made spice cake again. I set 2 extra forks because I always do, because someone inevitably comes with a story and a sweet tooth. We ate it on paper plates in the backyard while the late summer gnats tried to claim us and failed. Vanessa handed me a candle lighter when mine sputtered out and didn't say a word. The stars above us were arranged the way stars are, beyond our reach and so, paradoxically, ours. When the last bite was gone and the plates were stacked and the night shifted toward that easy, grateful quiet, Dad leaned back in his chair and looked up like he was checking a map he trusted. You know, he said, this might be my favorite age. Why? I asked. Because now I know what to cancel and what to keep, he said. And I know better when to let you do the same. He raised his glass of tap water like it was champagne. To all our tables, he said simple. May we keep them open? I clinked my glass to his, and across the candles, Vanessa lifted hers. It was not the triumphant ending you get in a film and clap for. It was the living kind, where you hold 2 truths and commit to not letting them cancel each other out. We didn't take a photo. Some nights you let the memory be the only proof. And if you're wondering how to do it when someone tries to curate you out of the room, here's what I learned. Remember you are not furniture. Remember who you're honoring. If you must, cancel the table that cancels you. Then set another one longer, with space for people to bring what they have and pass it around until everyone is fed. And when the lights flicker, find the breaker box together and try again. We keep the door open. We keep adding chairs. We keep the cake spice forward because that's how he likes it. We remember who the day is about. We sit where we belong. The end.